Hi everybody, Jeff Feierfeil, Cirtas Systems. Today I want to talk to you about performance and how it relates to storage in the cloud. Performance is obviously top of mind for a lot of people when they think about, oh, I'm going to now start putting my data in the cloud. Well, there's really three major primary discussion points that I want to cover today with respect to performance. The first one is the idea of whatever solution you're looking at, the first thing you're going to want to make sure of is this idea of cloud avoidance. And by that I mean, to what extent is the solution I'm going to pick going to avoid having to go to cloud if necessary, because we all know going to the cloud is going to impact performance to some degree versus local performance. So the ability to do that cloud avoidance is important, and typically what most vendors do is have some sort of, what most cloud controlled vendors do is have some sort of local storage on site, and I'll get into that in a minute. The second aspect is one, okay, so if my data is not locally available by virtue of cloud avoidance, and I do have to go to the cloud to make a read or get some access some data, then I want to have the ability to mitigate that transfer as best as possible. And there's a number of technologies you can use to do that. And then the third and last thing is, to what extent can I further optimize my transfers such that I'm really taking advantage of my limited bandwidth. So if we take a look here at the first one, cloud avoidance, again, that's really a matter of providing some sort of local storage on the cloud controllers such that when hosts go to make writes or reads, they get an instant acknowledgement. They get their data access right away. They don't have to go to the cloud to get the data. And a lot of times there's certain size storage here that keeps sort of the frequently accessed data that allows that. With respect to mitigating the transfer, so if the data is not in the local storage and I have to go to the cloud to get the data, the ability for the cloud controller to do any kind of deduplication or compression is really what's going to impact my usability of the WAN. So to the extent the cloud controller can do deduplication compression, minimizes the amount of data I need to upload or download, taking advantage of the bandwidth I have, as well as lessening my costs from the storage provider perspective. And then thirdly, I really want to make sure I optimize this pipe. So things like taking advantage of the cloud provider's APIs, understanding what kind of bandwidth I have and throttling that, and doing specific TCP IP optimizations. With the Cirtas BlueJet, we actually provide sort of a multi-stage cache, if you will, locally on site, so that your clients get really good performance, local performance, to the frequently accessed data. With intelligent caching algorithms that determine what data stays in the cache and what goes to the cloud, this keeps a high degree of probability that the data these clients will need will come out of the local cache. In the cases where we actually have to go, where the clients actually have to go to the cloud to get their data because it's not in the cache, we actually do what we call byte level deduplication. So we'll actually take the data that's stored in here, we dedupe that, and then compress it and send that over the wire in compressed form to the cloud provider. So it resides here, takes up less storage, and then comes back over the wire compressed and deduped. So you take advantage of the constrained bandwidth you have as well as getting the cost advantage. And then the third thing with respect to optimizing transfers is because of Cirtas's WAN optimization heritage, we really understand the pipe. We know how to do things like look at the bandwidth available and figure out what's the best way to lay out the data, what's the best way to package it. We do a lot of testing with the various cloud providers to make sure that we're utilizing them to the fullest extent, as well as looking at things like how many connections we can open, managing the number of TCP IP connections, doing parallel reads, all the types of things that we're very good at doing just traditionally. And so to net it out, if you're looking at any kind of cloud controller solution to store your data in the cloud, you want to make sure that there's some sort of cloud avoidance component, some sort of local storage, if you will. You want to make sure that there's some sort of mitigation there, and if you have to go to the cloud to write or read data, you want to make sure that there's a certain amount of deduplication and compression occurring there, preferably byte level deduplication. And then thirdly, how well is the cloud controller optimizing the pipe in terms of TCP IP connections, cloud provider APIs, and that type of thing. Thank you.